Today we have some very exciting trees to work on, and this is going to be a one-to-one session with Crispin here. And Crispin has brought these trees. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big trees, one small tree. And I work fast, so I promised him that in 2 hours or a little over 2 hours, we will deal with all of these, and they will become unrecognizable at the end of this one-to-one session. Before we proceed any further, if I can kindly ask Crispin to tell us something about the history of these trees, please. Can you say something about the trees?
These were gifted to me by a good friend who's no longer in the country. And I promised to look after them.
They're very mature trees, aren't they? I mean, how old would they be? Do you know how long he had them?
I really don't know. I think the elm is maybe 60.
Yeah, that's a
mid-60s.
Yeah, very big Chinese elm, and this is a white pine, again, quite good condition. So at this time of the year, all the white pines, Japanese white pines, lose their needles, so we show you how to clean it. I am almost sick and tired of reminding our viewers and our customers that all pines, especially the Japanese 5-needle pine, lose their needles, their second and third year needles, in the autumn. You won't believe it. Every day from early September right till the end of October, we get maybe 2 or 3 telephone calls every day saying, my white pine is turning yellow, is it dying?
Yeah.
No, it's not dying, they're simply shedding the needles. So simply cleaning it will make a big difference. So we methodically work through all of them, and maybe let's work on the simple ones first. So if we take the elm, the deciduous tree, and show you what we will do with them. We put it against the white background here, and we will make a start. Stronger than I don't know what these clamps are.
I was trying to bring the
Bend
low
the branches,
branches down.
Okay, you have the right idea. But simply cleaning it up will make a big difference. I don't know what experience you have of bonsai. You don't have to have a lot of experience. You simply have to have a fairly reasonable aesthetic eye to appreciate the beauty of these trees. Now, again, for the benefit of our fairly new viewers, I'll take these clamps off because I don't think we're going to need them. The branches are quite good as they are. That's okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so all it needs is a trim. So, for the benefit of everyone, both you and other viewers, all bonsai have what we call a front and a back to the tree. So we got to look for a possible front and possible back. The front always leans slightly towards you, so this is leaning away, so that I think would be the front. Also this is coming out this way. If you turn the tree around, usually the trunk at the base gives a very good clue as to which is a better side. So this I would say is a better side. I noticed that that branch at the back is dying or dead. All it needs is a good trim. So, because this is going to be a workshop or a lesson, I'll get you to do it. I could easily do it in 2 minutes, but that is not the point. You will not learn if I do it all. You've got to do it. So, we're just going to give a haircut. All these long shoots, cut it back. We're going to aim for a dome shape, like a beehive. All these long shoots, cut off. Don't be afraid. Just go around and do that. That is the start. And that is the general care for most deciduous trees, and especially the elms, which are so prolific. I think this is virtually a few months growth. Have you pruned it during the year?
Very lightly this year because it didn't grow much this year.
But it's in good health.
And it lost that branch. Which
so how long have you had these trees? A few months or a year?
I've probably had them about six or 7 years now.
Okay, as long as that.
Yeah.
Well, you kept them well, they're growing well.
Good.
But you need to deal with it all the time. You know, in a year, a tree like this usually requires 2 or 3 prunings to keep it looking nice, looking smart.
I've been a bit harder on it some years,
Yeah.
but it's just the shape. I'm not sure
Okay.
what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see these long shoots have broken the outline. You can still figure out the original outline. And of course, this tree has grown a lot since it was first purchased. These are quite nice. Ramification is very nice. That means the density of the branches. This is a dead branch. With deciduous trees, we don't usually create driftwood effects with it, not often. So, because it's the back anyway, I will just get rid of it and cut it off. So while we have the back facing us, I will, with my mini chainsaw, get rid of it. How easy is that? Flush, there you are, that branches out. In fact, now that we've opened it, it looks nice as a front as well.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was needed there with this one so close.
Okay. I noticed that there's another dead branch. Again, maybe lack of light. Sometimes with old age, don't blame yourself. Trees do lose branches. Even in nature it happens, you know. When it gets too dense and it doesn't get light, branches do die. That's why letting light into the structure is very important. Okay. Because there's going to be a video, I don't think we need to show every second of it. We've now given it a light trim. We've trimmed off all the long straggly shoots, so the outline is very clear. I had thought of using this as the front originally, but now that we remove that back branch, which was dead, this is also a very acceptable front. And I've opened the front, because with most bonsai design, you need to see the front. If you can see the front clearly, then that sort of determines the front, because you can appreciate the line and form of the trunk, because the trunk is like the human body, very, very important part of a bonsai. Looking at this side also, there are more spaces and tiers between branches. From the other side, the tiering of the branches is not so obvious. Can you see?
Yes.
It's meshed more. So again, it depends what you want to use as the front. But should you be worried, then you can be a bit more severe and take some of these branches where shooting upwards back to create more of what we call a flat pad.
Right.
See, by doing that. Don't be afraid to do that. You can do that from time to time. So that keeps the pads in control. Otherwise, they will start merging into one another and you lose that definition between the different layers. So that's all. I mean, how long did it take? No more than 5 or 10 minutes. So that tree is done. And it's in good condition, good ramification. You don't need to seal these cuts. They heal themselves quite easily. Even if you didn't seal it, it will make a little hollow hole. It adds character to the branch or trunk. Don't let the tree grow anymore. You need to develop the crown a little more to get it more dense. If you like, you can shorten these even more. Don't be afraid of cutting back like this, because the more you prune, the more density you get. That's how ramification or density is created, simply by constant pruning. So I noticed that this part is quite vigorous, so you keep it pruned, it'll give the other parts of the tree more chance to grow. Okay. So we finished with this one. So that again, I would say that this tree has been in this country at least 30 years. We used to import these by the 100. I used to import 500 at a time back in the early 80s. The whole greenhouse used to be filled with pines and junipers. and it hasn't been kept in control during all that time. The tree originally must have been about this size. If I can just explain, if you come closer, look at this. These long shoots were the candles from earlier this year. At the start of each season, these little buds here are candles. So each of that will make 5 branches if you didn't do anything. So I would assume that nothing has been done to this tree for the last 30 years. So all these candles have kept growing and growing. So the tree has become overextended. For a start, now let's do the pruning. I think we need to introduce layers again to give it more of a definition. Also, I think because trees have a tendency to spring upwards, it's springing upwards a lot, we will have to do some wiring to the tree in the time available. See, the front is somewhere here. It's been potted a bit haphazardly, or even this is a very nice front like this because the tree is leaning towards you. So if you just clean the needles very quickly, then at least we can see what is in it. And there's going to be some serious pruning. This is where, if you understand the piles, you can understand or know how much to take off without endangering the health of the tree. Conifers, unlike deciduous trees, are more fastidious in the way they are pruned. With deciduous trees, however hard you cut, they will sprout back from any part of the trunk or branch. With evergreens, you've got to leave some greenery on it to pull the sap up. If it doesn't, then the tree will gradually die back or completely die. So I think because this thing is leaning this way, this is a nice front, but the front is somewhere here. Okay, we'll take good shots of this with the camera because the finished article will be quite different. Now, because it needs a bit of experience, I'm not going to burden you with decisions about cutting certain branches. So we need to lie the branches flat rather than letting it spring up like that to create a pad. We can make a pad like this. I don't like to reduce the tree to its what we call virgin state, where it is back to like a piece of raw material, untrained tree. I want it to look fairly reasonable and established. So it's the tips I'm taking off. So during the growing season, when these new candles emerge, you need to take all of them off and then it'll bud further back. You haven't been doing this at all.
2/3 of the candle?
No, you take all of it because it's too badly overgrown.
Okay.
You don't need so much.
I usually cut the candles back.
And what I'm doing here, not just cutting the long shoots, I'm taking back, as long as you take it back to a point where there are other shoots coming, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
It's just like general pruning. So over there, I can take it back because there's shoots that I can take it back there. So this one, I can even take it back there if I want, but I won't. I'll take it back there. So why don't you have a go and prune these, and I will see how you do it. As I say, it's important that you do it because if I do it all, you don't get the confidence. But if you do it, you'll get the confidence to do it yourself. So that's what I'm doing. I'm pruning some of these because there's a lot of growth. We need to reduce the tree by about 1/3. Basically, it's lovely material, but we need to bring the best out of this tree. So you can see already there's a semblance of a pad here that I'll wire and refine. Okay. So this was too massive. I'm going to reduce this. I will show you what I'm going to do. In fact, while we have the camera on, I'm going to take this off. I always have a bag handy because on my classes, I like to show people this kind of bag trick. Rather than cut it off, I always look and see, if I cut it off, what will it look like? So if I remove that branch, it still looks very nice, doesn't it? It doesn't affect the tree. So I'm going to take this massive thing off. Don't panic. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this off with your permission.
You have my permission.
That much I've taken off. All right?
Can I plant that?
No. Look at it.
Yeah.
Isn't it much nicer?
It doesn't need it, does it?
Much nicer. It looks more refined. Okay? So we've taken one major decision. We're going to wire these in place. Straight away, it's become tamed, you know? It's become very elegant. And the rest is just wiring. You can see the basic shape of most bonsai is triangular or conical. So it's got the conical shape. I think wiring will achieve the rest. So if we carry on pruning these long shoots off this Crispin, and then we will take it to the next stage, which is doing some wiring. So you're happy so far? We're going to do some wiring to create more defined pads. The pads should be flat rather than springing up, so we're going to wire these. So just by removing that large branch, I've now created a more meaningful or attractive pad rather than a bulky pad. It's more refined. So we're going to wire these flat. That has to be wired. They all have to be wired, but let's show you how to wire. So I know you may have done some wiring, but good wiring comes with practice, and the basic principles of most wiring is that you use two branch principle, meaning you wire two branches with one piece of wire. So we use two similar branches, similar thickness branches. So this and this is similar thickness. So I'm going to use that and that. I can probably make it look better by taking it from the bottom. I also want to make, I left a bit of a stub there, that's okay. This project to there. Okay, good. And then when it comes to the wire end, this tool called the gin pliers is very useful for terminating the wire, because the fingers usually have difficulty twisting thick strands of wire, so I use the pliers like this to create a little loop. By making a little loop, the branch won't escape. You see what I've done here? Like that. See, the fingers is difficult, but with this it's quite easy. Okay. Yeah. See? So I've now flattened that. Yeah. Just make a little loop like that. Okay, let's look at it again. So this is going to be our front. And then we may not have time to wire every single branch, because if you want perfection, you've got to do much more than that. So all these side branches, what we call laterals, should also be wired. You may have to do some of this when you get home. Yeah. So let me show you on one, and then you can finish the rest. Sometimes on a tree like this would take most people best part of a day to do it, but we're going to do it in half an hour or less. Once the wire is put on, you can bend it and twist it in whatever direction you wish to position the branch exactly where you want it. See, I can do that, I can do this, you see? And fill the space. So we're still looking at the front like this, so these all have to be flattened like this. So you have to flatten all these. So these have to be flattened. I want to clear this because I want to show the trunk. I can take this back. I don't want that. This is not too bad. I can flatten it a little more. So in a situation like this, I can link this and that. You can see I'm always looking for branches of similar thickness to wire together. Always branches of similar thickness. So again, knowing the size of that branch, if I can get you to wire this and this, always estimate how much, so you need so much to go to that end, this to go to that end. So you're wiring this one and this one, or you find a way of doing it. Okay, we don't need to. So we've wired these two branches, so we need to deal with more branches. So I need to create more of a conical shape. You notice that these branches are springing upwards, which we don't want it to do, so I need to flatten it somewhat. So again, I can find that these two are similar branches in thickness, so I will wire these two together. Very convenient. There are some wire marks here, so there was wire on the tree originally, which they removed, which is good, but because over time they start to regrow, we need to deal with them again. So let us wire these two. I'll get you to do it. So these two are similar thickness, fortunately. So let's do these. So you need enough to go to the end. Always estimate how much you need for each end. Okay. Keep it tight. A word about these Japanese 5-needle pines or Japanese white pine. When we first came to the nursery, from 86, I think we didn't import anything because we had our own stock. I used to sell just larches. But this next year we had to buy in stock because we had sold everything. And white pines and junipers we used to import by the hundreds. Unfortunately, the white pine is not such an easy tree to look after in the UK because they have to be acclimatized. But once they get acclimatized to the Northern Europe climate, then they're okay. But when they come from Japan, the temperature in Japan is usually a bit milder than here, and therefore they find the European winters a bit harsh. So they need some protection in winter. Many people don't realize that. They need protection. So that was the front. I still need to flatten this more. And again, this is a bit too long because I want more of a triangle. So I'm going to take some of these branches off because that's breaking the triangular shape. Take that off as well. Tips out. Again, if I can remind people, if you, let's take this as an example. It's okay to prune the tip like that and leave some green. If you prune there, that branch will die because there's no green. The chances, very good chance it'll die. Like so, that will grow because there's green there. But if I pruned it here, that whole bit will die. So you've always got to leave green at the end of a shoot to sustain the tree. So we always call the green the sap pullers, SAP, sap pullers, because it pulls the sap and keeps the branch alive. Very important to remember that. Okay, so I've created more of a triangle, so I can wire these again if I wish. I won't spend too much time because there's lots more to wire. Okay, let's look at this one. This is springing up a little bit, this one. Okay, that's also spoiling. So we've now done some basic wiring. So we've wired this pad with literally 2 pairs of wires, 1 pair of wire there, 1 pair of wire here, 1 wire here, 1 here. So there's only about 4 pieces of wire, and we've created the triangular shapes with reasonably flat pads. I will now get Crispin in his own time too, if he wants to refine it even more. All these subsidiary branches with fine wire, appropriate grade wire, wire them flat, and that's it. So this is going to be the front. So it's a very reasonable looking tree, and if you compare it with the original from what we started off, it is a big difference. So that's number 2 done. We've got 2 more big ones. So we will look at another 2. Now this one I would say hard to tell because black pine were not imported into the country. Seems to be one that the previous owner had created. Again, it's in good health, but because you have not been dealing with the candles and the needles, it is a bit overgrown. We need to create a more definitive apex, more of a triangular shape. So it's got quite a lot of movement, you know, it's not a dead straight trunk, although dead straight trunks sometimes are used. I'm now looking at the tree to see which side is better as a front. I think this is a better front. I need to tighten all the branches more. Okay, if you look at the tree from that side, can you tell me which is your preferred front? Okay, look at that side, and then look at that side. Which would you say is the better side?
I'd say the first one.
Okay, so we all agree that this is the better front. It's got a nice base, the trunk looks nice, and these are two nice branches to use as the front. We need to open it up a little more so that you see the trunk more clearly, so we can wire these two branches, and then we will proceed and wire all the other branches and tighten the branches. That means once the wire is on, we can do zigzags to it. So we choose the right thickness of wire to deal with the branches. Okay, so I'm only going to wire from there to there because the thickness of the branches changes from here onwards. So I don't want to take a thick wire to that end. I'll just wire from here to there. So let us choose the right grade of wire. I always like to take the wire from the back so that it doesn't intrude into the line in the front. Like this wire is not thick enough. I always remind people that choosing the right grade of wire comes with experience. The more you do, the more you realize what will work and what doesn't work. And I know from this experience this probably works. Well, if it doesn't work, we can always put a second coil. So if we do this, a little anchor, and then take it to here. So Crispin, if you can finally wire this bit. There. Keep it tight, huh? And finish this off too. Because this tree is in reasonably healthy condition, in fact very healthy, we don't need to worry too much about what we do to the tree. If it was weak and sickly, then I wouldn't do so much pruning or hard cutting back. So that brings it close, but there's still a very dominant branch. So if you come close, I'll show you what I mean. This is a very thick branch, and it's taking over from the leader. So let me reduce the vigor a bit by taking it off completely. So that reduces the vigor of that. Also, this can take over, and this can become the leader if you don't watch it. So I can either do this, that reduces it, but should I want to, I can even take it off there, like so, and let these grow.
And I will.
So you see, I've made it more in proportion, tightened it all up.
Yeah.
Now the rest is just wiring. We'll wire every single branch, and then we will get a more compact look. Okay, so we've done wiring. You see, we've tightened the tree, more of a conical shape, flattened the pads, and hopefully I can already see quite a lot of back budding. You see all these small buds are coming. So by constantly taking the candles out, you're going to get this pad filling out with these new shoots. So the pad will fill out quite quickly in about 2-3 years time, and the tree will become more dense. You've got to watch the leader in case it gets too weak. You want to leave it to thicken a little more. But generally the taper is very good on this tree, and this is the front. And that's what we do, keep feeding it, and that's the general care. Now the last tree, bigger tree, is the squamata juniper. If we bring that, that is going to be quite a challenge. The most difficult tree. So the botanical name, for those of you who are not familiar with this species, is Juniper squamata, and the variety is called Meyeri, 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 Myers squamata. The trouble with this tree is that they have this natural habit of producing a lot of brown needles like this. That is the natural habit. Nothing you can do about it. So that is why it's not so popular for bonsai. And you have to keep cleaning the needles to make it look smart. So that's why it's no longer popular for making into bonsai. But in the days when there was nothing else available, it was used a lot for bonsai. And we have some which have got 4 to 6, 8-inch diameter trunks. They become very interesting. This is a nice straight tree. You don't always have to have a tree in a curly shape. They are quite nice as straight trees, but I feel that for the design of this tree, I can see what the original creator of this tree had in mind. He just created branches, alternating branches, and branches starting from quite low down. The trunk is not that thick, and I need to decide which is the nicest front. Again, if we turn the tree around, if you look at the different sides, you can tell me which is the nicest front. The way the roots spread into the ground and the way it spreads into the soil, they all have a bearing on deciding which makes a good front or which is not a good front. Junipers, by the way, you have to clean the bark, and once the bark is cleaned, they look very nice. So, while I'm at it, you see, you start by taking it, well, almost like cinnamon. Take the old bark off, and then you can brush it with a wire brush. That's the natural color of the juniper. So that's the finishing touch that you do to all junipers. And when you polish it with a wire brush, it comes up red. Okay, but let's not get distracted. We still got to decide what to use as the front. Although we say to look at the base of the tree, sometimes the inclination of the tree, the way it twists and bends, can also determine the front. So let me see what you think. What do you think is a nice front?
Well, I like this front here, so you can see the roots.
Okay.
You can see
All right. Yeah, that is also my preferred front, and you can see a little twist there. Although that is very nice. Looking at the tree from this side, this bit leans towards you, and that also makes it look quite nice. I'm not looking at that base there, but the way these little distressed bits also add character to the tree. And because this is leaning towards you slightly, that gives it more movement. If you look at this part, if you just look at this part, compare this side with the other side. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I do.
So you don't always look at the base. Sometimes you look at the top as well. So, because the top is better from this side, I will probably go for this as a front. So I've broken a very basic rule. So because there's very nice movement on these distressed bits, also if I want to make this look like a big tree is either a tall tree or a tree that has a thick trunk. I want to emphasize that quality. Just as when we choose branches, we prefer to use thin branches to contrast with the trunk. Thin branches make the trunk look thick. If you use thick branches, the trunk looks small. Also, if you have branches which are too low, it doesn't give the feeling of height. If I were to remove some of these lower branches, it will emphasize the height of the tree more. If I start removing those and take the branches much higher up, it emphasizes the length of the trunk. So if I remove that and just keep the top branches, then you can see the trunk more visibly. That is what strikes me as being a possibility. I don't think these are needed. And maybe the branches hang down a little more.
So your crown lifted it.
Yeah.
No, I'd agree.
Happy?
Lift its
Yeah.
skirt.
So we're going to make a bit of driftwood using these bits. So when we make driftwood, we make a sloping cut away from the trunk. And then we will tear that branch back. So I'm just tearing it so that it appears that it's been distressed by a storm rather than just hacked off. And then I will remove the bark. So that basically is how you make driftwood. And then you crush the bark as well. And the bark will just slide off.
Is this the same as the gin?
Yeah. You see the lovely red color underneath it? The bark, juniper bark is that reddish color. So, would you like to have a go at that one? Huh? Make a gin there. Gins are better short, so if I cut these off, and then make the gin about this length. That means you make a sloping cut there, and then you tear the branch towards you. So, no, they're away from the trunk. So if the trunk is here, I make the cut away, sloping this way. And at the back, because I'm going to tear in the front because I want the texture to be in the front. Okay? Absolutely right. Yeah? About half or third, and then turn it around and then rip it so that you see the torn texture in the front. You can assist it with a pair of gin pliers or with your hand, whatever. So we are tearing it this way, so we see the torn texture facing the front. That's it. You can rip, tear it, or roll it back, whatever. That's it. That's it. And then you remove the rest of the box. So that's how you do a gin. Right? If you've never done a gin before, that's how you do it. And then you can assist like that. See, a lot of people are afraid to take the decision because you take on all the years to grow the branch, why cut it off? But sometimes it's outgrown that usefulness.
You didn't even ask him if it was okay, you just did it this time.
I agree.
Love it.
See, straight away, the tree is now looking taller. You must admit, it's looking taller. Now this one at the back, we can't see the gin, so just cut it off. Don't want to damage it. The tree hasn't suffered at all. In fact, it's enhanced the look of the tree. Don't you think?
Yes.
It looked after those low branches.
It did.
Okay, so now it looks like a tall tree. You know, this is the sort of tree you find growing in nature, tall like this. Usually tall trees, they don't have low branches, do they? They shed the low branches.
Too much shade.
Yeah. And this is how a lot of Scots pines look. Many people say that, oh, you've been doing this juniper like a Scots pine. You should make it look like a juniper. They don't realize that when we make bonsai, we're using one species to replicate another species. It's just a medium of expression or interpretation. Just because it's a juniper doesn't mean that you can't make it look like a pine. It's still too dense for a tall tree like this. We need to make it less dense. So I will gradually take some of this off. I'm just doing it by feel, as it were. There's no formula to it. I'm just doing it a bit by bit to see how it works out. Scots pines in fact grow like this. You could travel anywhere. Near Leeds Castle, there are a lot of Scots like this on the M20.
Yeah.
After the great storm, there were so many beautiful Scots pines that had the tops taken off, distressed, just like this. So if you've never done gins before, so you learn how to make gins or driftwood. So this you can take right back to the stump. Just remove all the bottom. I'm very pleased that we haven't wired a single branch. We haven't wired a single branch, and yet it looks so nice.
Yes.
Good. This one. So we've got little bits of discrete gin. So this is an instance where we simply remove two branches from here and there, thin the tree, not a single piece of wire has been used, and we've transformed the look of the tree. It now looks like a tall, elegant Scots pine, almost with literati character. Literati is like the Chinese painting, the Chinese style of bonsai. And what it really needs for the future is a drum pot. Because it's got that literati character, the drum pot is going to be appropriate. This, in fact, even this is too big. I think next size down would be right for this, maybe 2 inches smaller in diameter, and this should be the right pot for the tree. Feed it well and it will become green again. So we've done all the 4 trees well within the 2-hour limit that we set ourselves. So I hope you've been pleased, Crispin.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So what did you learn from it? Be bold.
Be bold, definitely. Yeah.
And you know how to make pads, how to wire, your wiring skills. You know, I made you do a lot of wiring.
Yeah.
You learn to make gins, and then you can clean this up if you wish. See, these little distressed bits, these old branches, you see how much character it adds to the tree. You know, it looks all natural, completely natural, and these little bits of dead branches. I like this because it reminds me so much of the Scots pines you find around here. So I hope you've enjoyed your day.